So, today I am going to take some inspiration from Bob Ross's There Are No Mistakes, Only Happy Accidents. So, if you saw my video from yesterday, you will have noticed that there was a chunk of audio missing near the end of the video, and that was the tutorial video where we were using the alcohol markers to color this hair. So I did figure out what happened, and I was hoping that I would be able to do a voiceover and just plug it in over the top of the video, but YouTube does not let you do that in any form or fashion that would be an easy fix. So, this is what we're going to do. I am going to show you guys another way that you can use alcohol markers to color hair, but we're gonna do it in more of what I call, or what I would refer to as, an illustration animation type style, where we don't have a lot of the defined lines and shading that we do on this image that we were working on yesterday. And so this is where we can get a little wild. Not saying that we couldn't do that with this, but different styles. So we're gonna do a couple examples of some illustration style hair, and then at the end I will pull back out the image that we worked on yesterday and kind of redo the portion of the tutorial that that we missed because of the audio, and that was the shading when I brought in our dark tone and was doing like the final little shading. So yeah, so we're gonna do this portion of it first. I also pulled a couple books before we actually get started here. I pulled a couple books that kind of, I think would fit more along this theme, and that this technique would work well in. Now, these are double-sided books. So if you are going to use alcohol markers in these books, you would want to treat your page with gesso or some sort of medium that's going to prevent them from bleeding through. But let me find an example of, so like the hair in this, there's no shading or highlight lines on it, so we have to kind of determine our own light source and where we want things to be. And then I also pulled and this was Romantic Country from Aerie, and I also pulled the Pop Manga books by Camila DeRico. I have Pop Manga Cute and Creepy and the Pop Manga coloring book, and let me see what we've got in here. So the hair style in here, so we do have some lines and some shading and things like that in here, but there is also a lot of open space that that we can play with in comparison to what we've got over here with our Mariola Budek image. So we can do some different things with this style, and that's kind of what we're going for with these with the images that we're going to work on today. Just a couple different things that we can do, and just a different style. Let me put those books over there. So grab some blank sheets of paper to put down. So I've got 3 of these that we'll do. I'll put these over here and we'll do one at a time. So let's start with this one. So we've got kind of this Afro hairstyle here, and I'm gonna move my markers out of the way. I have like no room on my desk, you guys. So let's decide here first what colors we want to use. And we're gonna be working with the Ohuhus, the 120 set that we were working with yesterday. So I am going to pull some of my browns. That's one thing that set kind of bums me out with this set is there's not a big selection of browns in this set. And it's a little too raw umber. I'm just trying to decide whether or not I like this combination here. I don't really want to use the same colors that we used yesterday, but that's kind of, if we're going to use these markers, that's kind of what we're limited to. Go with all right, we'll go with this one. We'll do a brown style for this one. And I am going to start with adding in a little kind of curly areas with my highlight color. So this is BR13. This is rose beige. We used this color yesterday. So I'm just gonna make some little lines in here. And actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use the bullet tip on this one. So we can refine these later. I just want some little highlights in here, and they don't have to be perfect. Well, so this is kind of where we get to, you know, define some of our own. Up here, tiny one. All right, so I've got some highlights in there, and then I am going to I'm going to use the full painting method in here, and I'm going to do my entire piece in my mid-tone color, and this is brown 1. This is the raw umber. And then we'll go back in and do some shading when we're done. And this is, I just want to make sure that I have my edges covered here, so I don't, I mean, not that I'm going to be coloring the face on this, but so I stay in the lines. And these little images came from education.com. They're actually coloring pages that you can print off for your kids. I'll link to the website. I just linked my Google account below for a free um a free account. So this is gonna look a little rough, but I am gonna kind of trace around my little highlights here, and then once we get the rest of our color laid down, I'll go in and use my light tone to blend those edges out and make it look a little bit more seamless. But yeah, so apologies about the audio issue yesterday. So I did realize what happened. So while I was doing these, and I'll be 100% transparent with you guys. Um while I was recording the portion that was going to be sped up, I I muted some of my audio sources in OBS to avoid picking up a bunch of extra things that I was going to have to edit out later. And I ended up muting my microphone, and when I came back I forgot to unmute it. Sometimes when I do the speed up portions, I like to put music on for myself, and it usually ends up being something that I can't put in the video because copyright. And so while I was doing that yesterday, I was listening to the soundtrack from Encanto, and I forgot to unmute my microphone. So yeah, so there's the honesty of what I did, but it's fine because we're gonna fix it, and I will um give you guys the lowdown on what was covered in yesterday's video that we missed, and all will be right with the world. I'm being kind of messy with this, and that's fine. You know, I actually don't mind some of the texture because it's hair, you know, so and we can correct some of that out in areas where it looks particularly not the way we want it to look, but at this point we're just trying to get color down. Yeah, I was actually debating whether or not to just pull some colors from my Arteza sets. I have a better selection of browns over there, but we'll stick with the Ohuhus. Okay, so let's define some of our little highlights here and blend some of those edges out. Maybe. And I will have to fix that one. So don't do what I just did. I should have just stayed inside the outline, and I didn't, and so it kind of bled. That's okay. I might be able to correct it. If not, I know if I can't correct it the way I want to, I'll show you guys what we're gonna do. All right, so let's give that one a minute to dry. Actually, no, let's start cleaning up some of these edges. And this is my my mid-tone. And so I am, as I'm going back through here and trying to blend some of the lines out, I am using little circular motions. And I'm trying to be careful not to repeatedly go back over the areas where it's still damp over here. And see, I'm not a fan of this color for these for my highlights on this. I think it's too orange, but again, felt a little limited on browns in this set. So it is it is what it is. And we're just gonna go over that highlight that we kind of messed up. And that's kind of the nice thing is like, as it was our lighter color, we kind of just erased it. So there, we learned something today. And it was kind of in an area where when I go back in with my other tone, all right, let's see. So yeah, I am what I did was I flooded the paper, which you have to be really careful uh with alcohol markers, is being careful not to put too much color down in certain areas, especially when the paper is wet, because it will kind of all right, so I'm gonna leave those alone for a minute. And then what I'm going to do is come back in with my chestnut brown. This is my dark tone. And just kind of along some of these edges where it would be darker because it is in, presumably because it's closer to the neck, it would be more in shadow. And you can flick this if you want. You could even do the whole thing in just a solid like block of color. It just depends on the look that you are going for. I've seen it done both ways. We could follow some of those lines. We could add our own. In some of these, we don't even need to worry about blending them out. If we don't want to, we could just leave kind of that little textured. So I'm kind of doing a couple different things with this. Now, if normally what I would do is kind of pick a specific like look that I was going for. I would, make a decision about whether or not I wanted to just solid color block, whether or not I was just going to do the little like accents around here. But I'm kind of trying to show you guys a couple different things one on one image. So, and again, some of this is gonna also be determined by where you decide your light sources. And let's see, I kind of blend some of this out down here. So I'm not too happy with the way these highlights turned out. I think some of it is the color. I probably should have gone with less like orange color, but sometimes we make choices that we don't end up really, really liking. It happens. And again, I think it's important that I show you guys the flubs. But yeah, that's an example of, more of like an illustrative style of hair. I kind of I like everything about the way this came out, aside from, my highlights, and I would probably go back in and touch up some of these little edges. And of course, like I told you guys yesterday, sometimes it looks funky while it's wet and you just gotta let it dry before you start making adjustments to it, because sometimes you end up messing it up if you just don't give the markers a few minutes to settle before you start playing with it. So let's put this guy aside and let's bring in our beehive lady, and let's do something funky with our beehive hairdo lady here. Let's give her a let's go with some green hair on our beehive lady. And I'm looking for a good mid-tone here. So let's got see how light. So you know what? Let's do this one a little bit more subtle. So, and let me make sure I've got a colorless blender out here. So let's start off with our this is G2. It is vivid green. And so I am going to start off on my edges and just feather out some of my my dark tone here. And I might be able to show you guys another little trick here at the end. Let's feather this out. And then I'm going to take my, see how this looks. All right, drop this down. So this is not quite as light as I wanted it to be. It's kind of a blue green. Almost looks gray. And I don't know if I grabbed the wrong paper. I put the wrong paper in my printer. For whatever reason, this just does not. I feel like my markers aren't behaving like they should be. Um, and this is really one of the nice things about these little like practice sheets, and they have these on the website in all different hairstyles. I think there was like 20 of them. And you can go in and practice, print these off and just play around. Before you start, mucking about in coloring pages and whatnot. Let's see. Okay, so I did just pull, this is green yellow 172 spectrum green. And I should have just used this for my highlight color. I didn't see that it was sitting in the mug next to me. But I actually kind of like the the tone. We've got some interesting things going on over here. So, and I like to turn my page a lot when I do this. Because then I'm not putting my hand in damp marker. And now I am going to I can scribble this off on me, just make sure my colorless blender is clean. So now I'm going to take my colorless blender and just kind of go over these ends. Just kind of see what happens here. Yeah, not quite doing what I want, but let's give it a minute and come back in down here and just play around with some of the And I have a hard time with doing like stark white highlights. It just isn't really a style that I feel like I have mastered. And yeah, I'm not really sure I like how that looks. But oh, that was close. It's just kind of funky. Um so yeah, we'll see how it looks when it dries. But then we've got kind of this like unblended, multicolored dealio going on. And we can always go back in and add some things along the edges here and just kind of let the markers do their things. I like the colors. I just yeah, I kind of mucked this up, but interesting interesting, color concept. And that's kind of the fun thing with these illustration type styles is, you can just really play around. And we've got one more, and let's go with let's go with let's go with, you know, kind of an orange look here. And so I've got Y5 Rouge Orange, Y10 Apricot, and Y4 Quince? I'm not sure. So let's start on here. Darkest area. And we're just kind of feathering this mid-tone in here. And we don't even have to fill in like all of the white space. We don't have to blend out the edges. We could just leave natural highlights, which I am really inexperienced at doing. I tend to just use my lightest color as a highlight color. And then go in and blend my edges. Let's see. And I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth between my my tones here and just adding, you know, where I think I need a little more. And she's got these down here, so go down here. I have one on my desk. So for these down here, what I could do is, if I wanted just a little bit of shadow on these little parts down here, is this is warm gray 3, and I'm not sure what is up with my paper today, because normally I can glaze over top and it's quite doing what I want. And really, I mean, I could leave it like this. I could go in and just add more lines, but I actually kind of like the way that one looks. You know, with just kind of the squiggly highlights here and there. So I think out of the three, of them, I like this one, the way this one turned out the best. And I was just kind of, you know, flicking and doing my thing, and just whatever happened. So we've got this one, and then we've got our green beehive, and then we have our afro hair and my messed up highlights, but they kind of look like macaronis. But so yeah, just a couple illustration animation style you know, with alcohol markers for you guys, and I'll link to these where I got these sheets from. So now, with that being said, let's switch gears for a second and come back to this one from yesterday. And if you missed it, I will pop the link to the first part up in the corner. And I have my markers for this one from yesterday. And so really the portion that I was trying to show you guys and talk through where the audio cut out was the final shading portion, where we brought in our dark tone and we're working in some of these areas. And you can kind of see I was working on a little bit of this yesterday off camera, but basically what we're gonna do is take our dark tone and we're just gonna go in these really dark shadowed areas where which we can see it, you know, in our illustration, is just very carefully kind of touch the marker up into those corners. And I mentioned this yesterday as well, is the darker we progress, the less of the paper that we're going to cover with the marker. So we don't need to drag that tone out into, you know, into the rest of our image, because it should be just on those corners. And so then I'm going to step down and just blend out some of those edges with my mid-tone. And if you take your mid-tone too far out into your highlight area, it's really just Then we'll grab our light tone and blend out the edges of our dark tone, and just kind of go back and forth. So down here in this little areas down here, and I'm just really just flicking this along the edges here. And again, working in small sections at a time. And so when you're feathering out your edges, you're just feathering out your edges, so you don't need to take it all the way out. So and if you do, step down, do our light tone. Feather out our mid-tone. And it's really just a lot of back and forth and back and forth until we get the tone that we want. And we could even, if we wanted to, we could grab an even darker brown and really like go into these little crevices, and it would be even less. Like basically right up in these little little spaces right there. And we're just gonna kind of feather it. And there we go. And I could sit here and just keep going in and building up this color as many layers as I wanted, you know, touching up other spots, and you know, until I'm satisfied with the result. But that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos, and I apologize again for the audio yesterday. I will be more mindful of that in the future. I don't know how that got past me, like where my brain was at when that happened yesterday. But thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified when I post additional content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.